Hi, welcome to the Ellis Talker Show. I have a friend of the show, Mr. Ponder, on today. He is running for Justice of the Peace in Precinct 4. Uh, Mr. Ponder, how you doing?
I'm great. How are you, DV?
I'm doing well. You've done a lot in the county. The way I first met you was when you were talking about annexation. I mean, you lived, breathed, talk. Everything was annexation, and I even joked with you that your grandkids were saying that, came out saying annexation. um, you had fought against that, and you
Uh-huh.
led that campaign. That's how I met you. Um, Now you want to serve your community again. So,
Yes, sir.
first, tell the people quickly about yourself.
So, like you said, my name's Louis Ponder. I lived here 54 plus years. My family's been in the county since the 1890s. I live on the family farm now, and I've always been a pretty solid conservative. Matter of fact, as a child, we had in the elementary school we had a mock election for president. That was back when Richard Nixon was running before he got elected, and I voted for Nixon, and I've been a conservative voter ever since.
Wow, Nixon.
Yeah,
Yeah, I wasn't around yet.
yeah. You were a little young back then,
Yeah, I was a little,
or
yeah,
not even
yeah.
thought of.
Not even a thought.
Yeah,
Real quick, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I
that's
want
good.
to let you guys know that at 6 o'clock, the video of the interview of the mind polluters, the people who created the mind polluters, a film about the over sexualizing of our kids in schools, will be on. And then tomorrow, Respect Midlothian is having an event in the Midlothian Conference Center. So check it out and go to their Facebook page. I Respect Midlothian, and check out the times, and hopefully you'll go there. Mr. Ponder,
Yes, sir.
so what made you want to serve?
Well, you know, I'm not. What made me want to serve now was just I feel like the county needs more conservative people within the within the elected positions. There was a position I was gonna run for, and I got pondered out, we'll say, and someone came to me and said, "Hey, there's a JP spot. You really should run for that one." And so I gave it some thought, and I decided, yep, JP, that's the spot for me. I think I can do a lot for everyone as that as a JP.
Can you go ahead and tell me about your qualifications?
So qualifications for JP, there's really not a lot specifically, other than everyone who becomes a JP, they have to take, I think it's 80 hours the first year of training. The first 20 has to be before you're sworn in. So whether it's me, one of my competitors gets the spot, we all have to take the same classes, the same courses to be able to work as a JP. The only other qualification is convincing the voters to vote for us.
Well, that definitely is a it's definitely a labor of love because you got
It
to go
is.
out there and talk to people, and you got to be out there. You recently dealt with an illness, and
Mm-hmm.
it's good to see you better.
Thank you.
So what does that position do? Because I wasn't raised in Texas, but I got here as
Mm-hmm.
soon as I could.
Well,
I don't
welcome to
understand.
Texas.
Thank you, sir. I don't know the justice of peace. It's not something that was in California. I don't. It wasn't in New York.
Mm-hmm.
So, can you tell me more about that position? What would
Sure.
you
So
do?
there's a variation of things. One is we can marry people. Uh, so
Oh
I could I
well,
could perform wedding ceremonies.
holy
Uh,
crap!
yeah, that's probably the simplest of those, and probably the most fun too. Then you have eviction hearings, you have small claims court hearings, you do arraignments and set bonds, and then the one that's probably going to, well, that'll definitely be the least pleasant one will be the inquest, going and pronouncing deaths. And Jackie Miller, one of the other JPs, I noticed last week. I think it was last week. He had like 9 in 5 days. He was a busy man, and but that's going to
Yeah.
be like a solemn occasion going and doing those. It's going to be you know.
That's
So
never, it's never pleasant. It
no,
definitely is never
no.
pleasant. Um, you marry people and you do evictions, or
Yes,
do
yes,
you do
yes.
evictions?
Evictions. So essentially, it'll be an eviction hearing. Landlord says tenant hadn't paid their rent. They come in, they present the case. Tenant presents his case on why you shouldn't be evicted, and then you find in favor of one or the other, depending on the circumstances.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's a tough one in itself too, because
Mm-hmm.
when somebody's losing their home, that's a tough deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's your home, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you all those things are things that you'll do as a JP. What what would you what would you like to make better if you were elected? What would be your plans with the JP going forward?
So, so for the office specifically, I'm not sure what I could do to make better. But what I would like to do is to do more to educate the people. Um, edu- Sorry, my phone's going off. Let me shut this off so it doesn't ring. Do more to educate the people on what they can do uh, to avoid the eviction process. You know, like you see, I see a lot of people post on Facebook, "Hey, my landlord's not doing this, he's not doing that," and then people give them some really bad advice and say, "Well, just don't pay the rent. You don't have to." Well, yes, you do have to pay the rent unless you file, and I believe the form is called remedy for repair. And so, if you've got something that's not working, you file this remedy for repair. You get a hearing in front of the JP, and then you and the landlord go up and you make your case that, hey, I haven't had an air conditioner in 2 months, or my water's been leaking and they won't fix it, or whatever the issue is, and then that gives you the opportunity to make the landlord fix it, and or a reduction in pay and reduction in rent, and possibly no rent depending on the circumstances and how bad it is. But I think a lot of people don't understand that. The tenants don't understand that you know, they have a recourse, but it's not just don't pay the rent. That's some really bad advice if anyone gives it to them, because once the landlord files an eviction because you haven't been paying the rent, there's not a lot of recourse for that person that's not paying at that point.
Yeah, those are. There was a period of time where people were not paying their rent, and some out of necessity,
Mm-hmm.
and some just taking advantage of
Oh yeah, this
moratoriums,
COVID ruling. Yeah, that was.
moratoriums
Yeah,
on rents and stuff. So a lot of
yeah.
landlords fell behind, and
Yeah, well, and a lot of
that's
people
tough.
don't realize some of these landlords, that is their lifeblood. I mean, they've got, they may not be a big, huge realtor company. They may be just an individual that owns 5 or 6 houses, and that's their retirement. And all of a sudden, those renters aren't paying them. They don't have retirement money. They don't have money to live on at the same time that the renters aren't paying them. So, yeah, that was a tough deal. I mean, I wasn't involved in any of that, but that was a tough deal, I'm sure, for many, because, like you say, some people were probably just milking it. There was some that couldn't pay it, but there was probably some that were just milking it, and there was nothing. As far as I know, there was nothing anyone could do because of the moratorium.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a tough deal for
yeah,
a lot of people. It was just a really bad time.
yeah.
Um, in general, I'm going to ask you what principles do you do the main core principles that you have of the role of government and how you will approach this office.
Well, I'll approach it. Everybody has a fair hearing. Everybody gets a fair say. All voices are equal. So if it's an eviction, that landlord doesn't have a stronger voice than that tenant, and vice versa. It's going to be based on what they present to me, and the case that's there. If it's a small claims, the same thing. If it's if a business has failed to provide what a customer's paid for, and they come in and they present their case, the business is not going to get an advantage because they're a big business. The tenants, or the customer is not going to get an advantage because they're a customer. They're going to have to present to me what they have, and at that point, I'll look at it, I'll view it, I'll make a judgment based on the law, and Either one side will have to pay, the other one will have to pay, or it may be a square deal where you guys are neutral here and even, and they get nothing either side. So just fairness, and equality is what I believe in on this.
Fairness and equality,
Yeah.
and those are real good principles when working
Mm-hmm.
in government.
Yeah.
Will you be a good steward of the people's money?
Absolutely, absolutely. If I mean, if there's something in in my office that is wasting money, it will get changed. If there's something we can do better, that will be fixed. Um,
Excellent.
I believe that the dollars that are spent to pay me to run that office and to pay my staff should be the taxpayers should get every penny out of what they've paid us. And if they're not, we're doing it wrong.
That's a good and noble thing,
Yeah,
especially when you pay taxes, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um, well, this is the part of the show where I have you talk to the people directly.
Okay.
This is your thing right now. You're talking
Hmm.
to the people. I'm gonna go ahead and put you up and go ahead, sir.
Okay. So some people may ask, why you or why me and why justice of the peace? Well, as I said earlier, I've been a staunch conservative for all my life. In my youth, I was a Boy Scout, and that's where I learned the uh, the rewards of serving. We did all kinds of things. We ran color guard for PTA meetings and city council, school board, color guard for different events around town. We did things like clean up parks, clean up the trash on the streets, things like that. Uh, as a young adult, I coached youth basketball for 5 to 7 years. I don't remember exactly. Um, the reasoning behind that was I wanted to make sure that these kids learned good sportsmanship, how to be a good loser and a good winner. Um, the idea of competition, and then since then, my wife and I, excuse me, opened a home health care agency called Approved Home Health Care. And through Approved Home Health Care, we provided a service to thousands of our elderly uh, population in Ellis County and surrounding counties. Uh, Highly needed service that we've done. Through that company, we were able to also provide funding and assistance with Meals on Wheels of Ellis and Johnson County. It's Ellis, Johnson, and Navarro now. Um, so that was another point of service in my life that we felt like we needed to give back to the community, and that was the best way we could do it because the money that we gave back also went to the elderly that we were taking care of. Um, in 2014, I was asked to join the board of directors for Ellis County SPCA. I served on that board for 4 years. The last 2 years, my wife and I co-chaired their annual gala. It's a fundraiser that we did to bring in money for the SPCA because it was a nonprofit. We did get some money from municipalities for taking in stray dogs, but it was never what we never got enough to pay for what it cost us to do it. So we needed that funding from those galas. Those 2 years, we brought in record funds. The last year, it was a little over $85,000 that we brought in for the Ellis County SPCA. I'm a member of the Knights of Columbus. Knights of Columbus supports the church and the schools. They also support the community, not just within the Catholic Church, but outside the Catholic Church to help those in need. Uh, but moreover, we defend the unborn, firm believers in the right to life. Right to life, whether you're here today walking or if you're, the little pebble in the mom's womb, that's still a life that needs to be protected. In 2018, we, or I say was forcibly annexed by the city of Midlothian. Shortly after that, there was a bill passed that allowed us, through a petition, to stop forced annexation per county. So I started that petition. We ran that petition for 6 months. Within 6 months, we had gathered 13,000 signatures, got it on the ballot. when it went on the ballot, it was called Prop A. We passed that initiative with 87% of the vote.
Yeah,
2020.
who was the other percentage of vote? The 13% that decided, yeah, I want to
I
get
had a
that.
lot of people ask why would 13% vote against that, and it may have been the wording was kind of confusing because when we had to actually get out and tell people, look, you need to pay close attention to the wording. You want to vote for Prop A, and then explain to them why. 2020, I served in the state convention, GOP convention, as a delegate, and that was kind of that was the last thing I've done specifically within the party, other than working to help get other conservatives elected.
Yeah. You've been busy.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
I want to thank you so
mm-hmm.
much for wanting to be a public servant and to continue to serve your community. I've thanked every candidate that's come on for wanting to put themselves in this meat grinder of politics in this
Yeah,
county.
yeah.
So people go to your website, ponder for 4jp.com,
Yes,
and
sir.
find out more about Mr. Ponder and
Yeah,
what he wants to do in his platform. I'll be having the incumbent and your opponent on Saturday,
yeah.
Mr.
We
Cody
actually there's not an
Mr. Cody
incumbent.
McKinney.
There's not an incumbent.
Oh no, okay.
No, 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 no. The incumbent is Steve Egan, and he's retiring.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we'll be having your opponent Cody McKinney on Saturday, and he'll talk to the people too,
Okay.
and I look forward to that. Remember, at 6 o'clock, gonna have that show with the Mind Polluters, the creators of that, and
Mm-hmm.
don't forget to go to the Respect Midlothian website and check out the times and dates for that. So to go watch it. I hear it's a great film. I can't wait to see it. So please go ahead and watch. Uh, Louis, thank you so much for coming on, brother.
Thank you for having me.
You take care.
All right.